Still some fog in the area, so be aware of that. 8:13 on this Thursday morning, November 20th. Dr. B joins us, our friend, Dr. Brent Wallis, Chief Medical Officer of People's Health. How you doing, Dr. B?
Hey, Tommy, I'm doing good. How about you?
I am okay, sir. Thanks for taking the time with us this morning. Nearly 1 in 6 people in Louisiana are food insecure. That's over 800,000 people, more than the populations of Shreveport, Monroe, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans combined. Dr. B is going to talk about food insecurity and how you can make a difference during this holiday season. First of all, Doc, what is food insecurity?
Yeah, Tommy, that's a huge number, and food insecurity affects a lot of people. It really just means that you don't have enough food to live an active and healthy life. And, for some, that might mean skipping some meals or eating smaller portions to make it last longer. For some, it might be consistently eating meals with no variety and really few nutrients that you really need. And sometimes food insecurity can be temporary. It might be caused by sudden changes in your life, maybe a layoff or a natural disaster. But sometimes it can be real chronic and, meaning it lasts a long time. And that chronic insecurity is often related to poverty, homelessness, or other serious problems.
What kind of problems, Doc?
Well, we often hear food security as an individual problem. Some people say it's the result of poor personal choices, but all the research shows that is not true. According to Feeding America, the food insecurity is more closely related to really complex factors, things like low-paying jobs, lack of affordable housing, racism and other forms of discrimination can come into play. And then what everybody's experiencing, this rising cost of groceries, childcare, and utilities as well.
Is there a group that's more impacted by food insecurity than others?
Yeah, here in Louisiana, it typically does affect communities of color and in particular rural communities, and we have a lot of those. They have high rates of food insecurity, and it's related to those factors we were just talking about, as well as the number of food deserts that are here in our state.
Yeah, food deserts, different spelling. Food desert, something completely different. What is a food desert?
Yeah, so a food desert is any place in the state where it's hard to get affordable and nutritious food. And often you find this in rural places or maybe low-income areas where they just don't have a full-service grocery. And so sometimes the most accessible options for food are things like convenience stores or corner stores, maybe fast food restaurants, and those often have higher prices and a lot less variety than a traditional supermarket would be. And those some people who live in food deserts can travel to a place where they can actually shop at a supermarket. That's going to require a lot of gas, reliable transportation, and a lot of people just don't have that.
Who else might be commonly impacted by food insecurity?
Yeah, in particular, older adults have a much higher rate of food insecurity, especially here in Louisiana. And across the state, actually, 13% of people that are over the age of 60 often struggle to just put food on the table. And in the New Orleans and Metairie areas, that number is even higher, closer to 15%. And, there's a couple of reasons for that. Older adults, a lot of times, are on a fixed income. They're probably paying high health care cost as well. So they just don't have as much, money to pay for food. And older adults can live alone, so they have less support. They may have, no transportation or no reliable transportation. So it's going to make it real hard to get to a grocery store or a food pantry.
I know food insecurity can affect health in an adverse way. Talk about that if you would, please.
Yeah, it absolutely affects health. And hunger and health are very connected. And people who are food insecure are going to be more likely to develop some of those long-lasting health conditions we talk about, diabetes and heart disease. They can also suffer from depression because of that food insecurity. And because of that, they tend to have higher health care costs and sometimes even more frequent hospital stays, which makes the situation worse.
Why is that?
So when you eat a nutrient-rich diet, that really fuels your body. It can boost your immunity. It's going to strengthen your heart, bones, and muscles. And if you don't have consistent access to those healthy foods, you're just not going to get any of those health benefits. And People who are food insecure, typically have a limited budget. So sometimes they have to make really tough decisions. They may have to choose between buying food or maybe buying their medications, which we know can be very expensive. And both of those options can have a lot of serious consequences.
We'll take a break. We come back, we'll talk about how people's health is helping to combat hunger this holiday season. But before we do that, Doctor, as a physician, talk about how, if you will, people can be overweight but be malnourished all at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. You may think people that are overweight have access to plenty of food, but is it good food? Is it the right type of food? And so a lot of times people with obesity are eating things that are not as good for them, and that's why they are heavier, but it does not mean they're healthy.
So they could actually be eating things just to have something to eat that are making them sicker and making them more overweight. And from an outside appearance, it would be, well, what, you're not hungry? What do you mean you're hungry? Look at you, you're overweight. But the fact of the matter is you're not getting the proper nutrition.
Yeah, it's not good for you food. It may just be whatever you can access wherever you are that's close by. And just like you said, if it's not nutritious, that actually is going to lead to a higher disease burden and probably additional cost in the healthcare system.
All right, let me take a break. We'll pick it up. We come back. We're talking to Dr. Brent Wallis, Dr. B, our friend, Chief Medical Officer of People's Health. Nearly 1 in 6 people in Louisiana are food insecure. That's over 800,000 people. And if you add it up, it's more than the populations of Shreveport, Monroe, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans combined. We'll talk about what People's Health is doing to help fight that when we come back. Right now, we pause for traffic 30 seconds early here on WWL. 825, Tommy Tucker, WWL, back with Dr. B, our friend, Dr. Brent Wallis, Chief Medical Officer of People's Health, talking about food insecurity. Nearly 1 in 6 people in Louisiana are food insecure. Over 800,000 more than the populations of Shreveport, Monroe, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans combined. Doc, what is People's Health doing to combat hunger during this holiday season?
Yeah, so we serve about 150,000 people with Medicare, and a lot of those individuals are older adults, and now we know a lot of those adults have food insecurity. So, we're looking for ways to invest in the communities that we serve, and the holiday season is a really great time to do this. And this year we are hosting community meals for the local councils on aging. We're really hoping it provides an opportunity for those seniors to come together, connect over a festive meal.
How can listeners combat hunger or help in the effort to combat hunger?
Yeah, there's a whole lot you can do, and one of the biggest things is support your local food bank. And a lot of people don't realize, but cash donations are usually preferred to the food banks because they have access to bulk pricing and manufacturer discount programs. In fact, the Food Bank of Northwest Louisiana says that about a $1 donation allows it to distribute about $10 worth of food. So it can really go a long way. If you prefer to donate food items, there's a lot of things you can do, but keep in mind they need to be non-perishable in general. So things like proteins, peanut butter, canned fish, grains, make sure you choose brown rice and whole grain pasta. That's healthier. Lentils or canned beans are really good. And then if you do produce, it needs to be dried or canned fruits and vegetables.
How else can people give back?
So you can really make a difference in your individual community by doing something simple like stocking a community fridge. And if you go online, you can actually find those refrigerators all over town. You can actually donate eggs and milk and some more perishable vegetables and fruits to those centers. And, look for community gardens, too, that are growing fresh fruits and vegetables that can be distributed to the people. Donate to a school food pantry or, something really simple. Look in your own neighborhood. There may be a neighbor you have that doesn't have transportation and can't get to the grocery store. Tell them that you'll go shop for them. That can be really, really meaningful right by your home.
And how can people get food assistance if they're on the other side of it and need it and can't help?
Yeah, if you're not sure where to start, really the best place is to call the National Hunger Hotline, and it's 1-866-3-HUNGRY. A representative there is going to help you find all of these local meal sites, food banks, and give you any information you need. There's a lot of resources available online as well. There's a website called feedinglouisiana.org that will show you all the programs and organizations we have in our areas.
And now that we've talked about physical health, a real quick word about mental health in this holiday season, maybe checking on your neighbors or some loved ones, Doc, to make sure they're okay?
Yeah, it's really important. This time of year, people can get depressed about the holidays, especially if they've lost loved ones. So it really is important that, you're walking around, you're checking on your neighbors, you're reaching out and calling people, because that little bit of contact can really make a difference to people during the holiday season.
Thank you, Doc. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, you and your family, and Remy, the boxer.
Thanks, Tommy.
Don't
You
forget
too.
about him. All right, thank you. Y'all can find out more about People's Health. The Medicare open enrollment runs until December 7th. You can visit the People's Health Medicare Center in Metairie, 3017 Vets. It's located between North Causeway Boulevard and Trader Joe's. Appointments are recommended, but walk-ins are welcome, and they'll walk you through the entire process. You can go to peopleshealth.com, or you can call them at 1-800-978-9765. 8:30 on the button for that. Time now, we go to WWL First News, and with that, Ian Ozan.